So, hello. I find myself in a rather interesting predicament caught between two spaces. One space, the spiritual way of being, and then the other space is the healing from narcissistic, toxic, abusive relationships. And I think it's really important to honor both. I think it's something that we should be aware of, how easy it is to spiritually bypass what we're feeling in certain instances, and also how easy it is to be caught up in the victim side of things on the other side of the healing journey. Hello, my name is Mark, and I help people heal from toxic, narcissistic, abusive relationships. And today I want to talk about spiritual bypassing and also just a little bit about what I've been moving through and exactly what I shared at the start of really honoring where you're at in your own journey and not trying to forgive if you haven't felt. Because this is what I see in a lot of circles of forgiveness in spirituality, and it's a beautiful concept and it's real, right? But it's important to acknowledge first and foremost, if you're someone who has been in narcissistic, abusive, toxic relationships, then you have been gaslit, you have been manipulated, you have been coerced, you have been controlled, and you have been invalidated for a period of time, right? And so to forgive your abuser would be to invalidate you and your suffering and your experience. And that's what I really want to talk about today. Because how can you forgive if you haven't yet felt the anger inside of you? This is important because for me, for the longest time as a child, I grew up and I suppressed my anger because if I was expressing my anger, my emotions that were deemed, unacceptable, then I would be punished. I would be rushed to the bathroom and have my mouth washed out with soap by my father, or smacked my bare ass with a belt or a wooden spoon. Sometimes the wooden spoon would break, and that was my experience. And again, I'm not going to talk about being a victim here. I'm just going to express what that does as a child, the implications, and then what happens as you grow up with that suppression of emotions. And what happened for me, suppressing anger meant that I couldn't express my true self. And so I would look outside of myself for validation, acceptance to be here now. And in that looking outside of myself, I would become a people pleaser. I would put other people's needs ahead of my own, and I would attract people into my life that did not have my best interests at heart because I didn't have a confidence within myself, because I didn't really know myself. I couldn't fully express myself because, of course, if I fully express all of my emotions, I'd be punished. And so that led me into the experience of attracting people that did not have my best interests at heart. Right? It also led me through my awakening back in 2021, back when COVID was around, when the world stopped. That's when I went inwards and discovered the awakening program, became an awakening coach, and learned all the spiritual stuff, which is really, really cool. Also read Be Here Now, Ram Dass. I read The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, and I got into that spiritual stuff. It's all beautiful stuff as well. Like, I highly recommend it. It's all important, particularly if you're wanting to live this life being present and aware and conscious, conscious of what's happening around you. But also, it's also important to acknowledge like what's happening within you, the emotions, right? And so realizing like I was in a toxic, abusive, narcissistic relationship, separating from that relationship has been my biggest awakening to date. And that is only possible through acknowledging the feelings, acknowledging the guilt that I had for allowing myself to experience that for such a long time, for the guilt that I have for being a dad as well and not being able to see my daughters now that I've separated from my ex-wife, and also just the grieving process, grieving that past version of me that allowed that behavior to go on for so long. And it's a tough thing to talk about because a lot of the people around you might not actually understand. For instance, my parents, I can't talk to them about it because they don't understand. And coming to a level of acceptance of that has been a spiritual journey in its own right, as well as my brothers and family members, people around you. Some friends do, but the thing is, when you're dealing with a narcissist, is they're very good at putting on a certain facade, a character, and that goes deep within your boundaries, the people around you, right? If you're not aware of what's happening inside of you, you're going to think that you're the problem until you start to separate from the abuser and you start to witness all these red flags and now actually witness the anger that comes up, the anger that arises within your body. And so what do you do with that? It's so important to allow yourself to feel the anger. Because for the longest time, as I said, throughout my childhood, I suppressed it. And that resulted in me being a people pleaser. Also, the implications from my body, going through a toxic, narcissistic, abusive relationship, my body was shutting down. I'm still itching every day, itching parts of my skin, particularly at nighttime. For the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of the time when I'm passing stool, when I'm doing a poo, there's blood coming out, right? And that's my body telling me all these signs that I didn't recognize until I separated from the abuser and realized, like, holy shit, my body's been screaming at me for so long. And then you come into the spiritual space. The narrative of forgiveness. And also just be here now, man, just focus on what's happening now. Acknowledge what is and, forgive and surrender. But it's fucking hard to surrender. If you are someone who has been through narcissistic, toxic abuse, it is very hard to surrender. And at the same time, it's a dance of not wanting to fall into that victim mode as well, because as you start to identify with being a victim, being abused, then you start to reinstate that healing journey that can take a lifetime, right? So there's a dance of forgiveness, and really the real forgiveness is forgiving yourself. That's where it starts, right? I'm not at a place where I can be like, namaste, everything's okay for the world and for my abusers. Right now, no, I need to really honor myself. And that's the message that I want to put out in this video today. If you are somebody who has been through narcissistic, toxic abuse, the first thing you need to do is to acknowledge that you have been abused, okay? And from that place, you can then allow the emotions to arise. And this might mean as well, like surrounding yourself with people who understand and that can validate your experience, because a lot of the times it might mean family members, friends, certain people anyways, won't validate your experience because they just don't understand. And you can't live your life wanting other people to understand, because that's a waste of time as well. But something to empower you with is you can find people out there that have been through your experience, come out the other side, and can help you with whatever you're moving through. That's possible, that's available, that's something that I experience with my soulmate Sarah right now, which is a massive, massive shift for me, because I talk about like 10 years worth of healing in the last 8 or 9 months. That's available. But it really does start with acknowledging that you have experienced this abuse, and then from there, allowing the feelings to come up, allow the anger to come up. For me, the way the anger has been expressed is through transmutation of energy, through creating content, through connecting with others and helping them through their own journey, but also through expressing it out through the body. It can be through dance, it can be through working out in the gym, And also boxing, that's something I've been getting into lately with my partner Sarah, is just putting the gloves on and hitting the pads and just getting it all out of me, you know? You can also scream into a pillow, you can punch a pillow, you can get out in healthy ways, but it's important to acknowledge and then to release the energy out of your body. Because emotion is energy in motion, and if you're not expressing it, then you're suppressing it. And that's what I did for the longest time. I suppressed it into my body, I internalized it, and that's when the body started screaming at me with multiple different things. And it still is healing, right? It still is healing because it's only been, I don't know, just over a year since I've been, out of this abusive narcissistic relationship dynamic, and the body still takes time. It's important to honor that. But it's also important to honor the fact that, perhaps in this moment, I'm not ready to forgive my abusers, and that's okay. Perhaps when I'm 50, I'll be more at a place where I'll be spiritually enlightened and more like Ram Dass. But for now, 37, and I'm moving through feeling through my feelings, and that's okay. It's okay to be me and express this. And then from that place, allow the emotions to arise. Definitely what has helped me is breath work too. So focusing on my breath, and first thing in the morning, like doing this breath work technique, what that does is it brings my energy back into my body. Because for the longest time, I've been out of my body and surviving in looking outside of myself for validation and acceptance and fitting in. But the more that you can tune back into your body, the more that you can come back into the beingness that you already are. And you don't need to look outside of yourself for love, because all the love you're looking for is a reflection of what you already have inside of you. And this is how we experience this physical reality. Everything outside of us is a reflection of what's happening within. So as you look within, as you heal from toxic narcissistic abuse, you start to then embody that version of you that is healed, and things shift quite fast. Like your outside will shift very fast if you really bring your awareness into your body and start to love yourself. That's been a process for me as well, because separating from my abuse, like it's relearning, rewiring how to have fun again, because having fun feels guilty for me. It's insane, but that's been my experience. Like actually having fun and being present, because I've always been in a heightened state of anticipation, from being in a narcissistic, toxic, abusive environment. I've been waiting for the danger, okay? And if I have fun, if I'm okay, that means that I don't know where the danger is going to come from next. I can't allow myself just to relax and have fun. But that's been a process as well, that I've been really getting used to doing nothing. And in the not doing, just really being present, being calm, breathing, drinking coffee, having slow mornings, not doing 100 things, really integrating a sense of self-love. And it's a responsibility for me to love myself, because then from that place I can move from a place of neutrality and love and presence, and then I can be present with the moment and offer that to my 3 daughters, to my partner Sarah, to whoever I'm interacting with in each and every moment. So this is the dance in between healing from abuse and also spirituality and being present and forgiveness. There is a place for forgiveness, but first you have to forgive yourself and you have to heal yourself. And, maybe I'll reach a stage of forgiveness for my abusers, maybe not, and that's okay too. Because it's important not to invalidate your experience. It's important not to invalidate yourself. So I hope that helps, that message for you. May you have a beautiful now. And may you honor your experience wherever you are in your own journey, in your own healing journey, in your life. Now, remember to feel it and don't bypass it. Because you read in a book somewhere that it's important to be present and to forgive. It is, yeah. But it's also important that to remember that you're a human being and to feel the feelings and to acknowledge what you've been through. And then, of course, you can heal, surrender to life, and be here now. So much love to you. Ciao.